I'll tell you, liberals like being offended is the issue.
Well, I'm at least talking about policy. You have a position on what people's names should be.
If you are a genuine libertarian, there's an awful lot to be privatizing right now. I mean, why do we have an education department out of Washington, D.C. when Ronald Reagan...
And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
Last question. There's been, some incidences across campuses concerning free speech. The Milo incident in Berkeley. Ann Coulter's coming to Berkeley. What is the UC system doing to ultimately provide free speech for everybody?
Yeah, so we believe in free speech. The First Amendment is a core value of the University of California, regardless of the views of the speaker. And so we will work to make sure that those events can be carried off safely. With the Milo incident, the protest was infiltrated by a group not of students who unfortunately made it unsafe for the speaker to continue. We certainly hope to avoid that with Ann Coulter.
All right, highly anticipated. Let's just get right to it. She's on the line right now. Ann Coulter, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you, and especially with that introduction. I loved that.
Oh, I'm telling you, Ann, we are excited. We are ready. You heard during that clip, that opening clip, I had an opportunity to ask Janet Napolitano about your visit to Berkeley. And
that was you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let that pass. You get this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to talk to you, and I get to stand in front of Janet Napolitano, and what do I ask her? I ask her about Ann Coulter.
Excellent. Good job, Kevin.
So I have the most pressing question that I have for you right on the top of my list is what's up with you and Jamie Walker?
I suspected that as much.
Well, that's what everybody wants to know. I mean, everybody's asking you that. I thought I would ask you that as well.
It's so crazy. This rumor has come up years earlier. No, we've been friends for a long time. Great guy, love him, besties, absolutely no romance.
That's it? Who's starting the rumors? You're blaming him for starting the rumors.
I think he kind of likes it.
I can imagine. I want to move on to your most recent column here in Breitbart, and I want to spoil it for everybody because everybody should go read this. It's entitled it's Ann Coulter, The Russian Emperor's New Clothes, and you say the claims that the Russians hacked the DNC emails have helped Trump is the sort of crackpot theory that can only be concocted after the fact. So, let me ask you, why are the lefties so Russian-phobic?
Well, I think we can now suspect there are there are a lot of good reasons for the left to settle on Russia. They'd love to say that it was North Korea that stole the election, but unfortunately, Trump nor any of his associates have absolutely no dealings, no golf courses going up there. There's at least, some of his associates have done business. Trump has been there once. It's a thin reed. Also, the left can never forgive Russia for giving up communism. They're a little testy over that. They loved Russia when there were the show trials and goose-stepping through Eastern Europe, and Stalin was starving millions of Ukrainians. No, they were totally cool with that. But now that Putin will not let, LGBTQ people walk through Red Square, they're hopping mad over the gay stuff. And mostly, I think the real reason, and Russia is fighting Islamic terrorism. Look up Russia and Islamic terrorism. They've been dealing with this for thousands of years. But now, last week with the Susan Rice business, the fact that the Obama administration was, in fact, using deep state intelligence for national security purposes, and they were using it to snoop on a political opponent. Pretty shocking. And I think the media was, helping the Obama administration set this up when it came out. Trump was the president. He's going to see what they've been doing. And they can say, oh, no, we just had to because we were worried about Trump-Russia collusion. But all of this Trump-Russia collusion nonsense, I mean, there are no facts supporting it. The few sort of quasi-facts they had have collapsed. And I just noticed no one had really been making, take a step back and let's look at what the allegation even is, leaving aside the fact that there is no evidence to support it. And the theory is insane on various levels. The basic story is, number one, the Russians wanted Trump to win and wanted Hillary to lose. And number two, the Russians, masters of spycraft, decided that the best way to accomplish this would be to release emails hack the DNC's emails, release emails showing that, in fact, the DNC was conspiring against Bernie Sanders. Okay, on point one, no, I don't think so. The Russians had already, resolved for themselves that Hillary Clinton was a corrupt politician and easy to buy. For millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, they acquired 20% of America's uranium capacity. With Hillary as Secretary of State, the whole Clinton Foundation corruptness. Hillary had that reset button with Russia. Of course they would prefer Hillary to this wild card lunatic Donald Trump. They don't know what he's going to do. So I think it's very hard to believe, point one, that the Russians would prefer Trump to Hillary. And point two is complete madness. How would releasing emails showing the DNC is ganging up on Bernie Sanders, how does that help Trump? It could have, as I point out in the column. I mean, we ourselves, we're living in the United States. Political experts didn't know what was going to happen in this election. Democrats were saying, we hope it's Trump. They thought he was going to be easy to beat. In 1980, the Democrats thought Reagan was going to be easy to beat. You never know what effects this is going to have. It could have been, in fact, a lot of us were worried this was the effect. Not only that, but many things about Hillary, her collapse at the 9/11 commemoration was going to have. It could have forced the Democrats to have a come-to-Jesus moment with Hillary and say, I'm sorry, you've got to step down, we're running Joe Biden instead. The Democrats have done that before, and I don't think anybody disputes, I still think Trump would have won, but I don't think anybody disputes that Biden is a more attractive candidate than Hillary. I just don't think this is how trained spies operate. I know, let's try this.
Yeah, you lay all that out in your Breitbart article, which again I encourage everybody to go read it because it gives you the ammunition to, whenever anyone on the left says, but, you can say, no, let me explain this way. Ann Coulter says, and then you'll watch them get all red-faced and their heads will explode as soon as you utter those two words. Let me ask you this. Do you think because of everything that's transpired here over in the Beltway in Washington, do you think that Susan Rice is about to be done in over this?
Well, I do think President Trump should release some of these classified documents. I mean, I apparently what has been reported and from reliable sources without dispute is that this deep state intelligence was gathering up private conversations on the Trump team, both during the campaign and during the transition, on issues having absolutely nothing to do with Russia, their expected excuse here, uncovering the names of private individuals. Most people, not me, I would love to be hacked. I would like my conversations, my emails on the front page of the New York Times. But most people would not like their private conversations on the front page of the New York Times. But still, I mean, I think they got to get over this because I think America has to see what was being done, the political, really disgusting, shocking skullduggery. And what determines whether something is classified is what the president says. So it is within Trump's power to declassify a lot of this intelligence, and that's the only thing that's going to give us the true answer here. So I think the private individuals who are being snooped on, I suppose you can go to them first and talk to them and say, we're going to put this out, and, maybe you told a joke about Hope Hicks or Corey Lewandowski or Trump's hair or something, and we're sorry about that, but we're putting it out.
Well, that might be my new favorite word, skullduggery. I'm gonna borrow that from you, Ann. Let me follow up with this. We know that Barack Obama weaponized information gathering, and he's used it against conservatives via the IRS and other agencies. Do you think that the left has become comfortable with this deep state and this mass surveillance?
Yes, I mean, as a general matter, if you don't care at all about policy, you don't care if Obamacare stays or goes, you don't care if we're getting involved in another war in the Middle East, all you want is clean government. You have to vote Republican because at least you know Republicans are terrified. The media will accuse them of things even when they've done nothing. Democrats have just gotten, because they are protected, they have a protection racket, and it is the mainstream media. They have just gotten wilder and wilder in the things they are willing to do. You know, in my first book, High Crimes and Misdemeanors, before I wrote it, I found out everything about the Watergate and the Nixon near impeachment, his resignation. And man, the things the Democrats do, starting with Clinton, and including the Obama administration, it would be a good day for them. The entire Watergate conspiracy. It really is stunning what these Democrats get away with, and how does the media respond? In a way that I submit to you the conservative media would not respond if it were a Republican caught red-handed. And just to take one quick and I think indisputable example off the top of my head, you know, Trump or Clinton using interns as his ashtray, committing felonies to have oral sex with this White House intern. Can you imagine any conservative media defending a Republican who had done that and was caught red-handed?
No, that's pretty tough for me to fathom. I'm going to turn the conversation. I don't have you for a whole lot of time today, and again, I really appreciate your time today, Ann Coulter. I want to turn the conversation to the news of the day, which is Syria and Korea. Now, all reports say that you're not really on board with President Trump intervening in the Syrian war. Is there a difference in your mind between what's happening with the crazy man over there in Korea and well, the crazy man there in Syria?
It's more than not quite on board. Well, from the moment I got in from dinner on Thursday night up until about 5 minutes ago,
I've seen your tweets, by the way. Yeah,
I've been issuing a blistering series of tweets denouncing this Syrian misadventure. But the good news is, no, I think this is a disaster. Nothing that happens in Syria is of any national security interest. Trump, the candidate, Trump, the private citizen, he was right. He said this over and over again, and all enforcing the larger point that he was running to be the president of America, not the president of the world. Not very much that happens in North Korea is of much concern to us, certainly not as much concern as it would be, as it is, not would be, is to China and Japan. Let them deal with it. I mean, this macho statement about, and if China won't deal with North Korea, we will. What if China said, I wish they would say, and if America won't deal with Mexico and the illegal aliens, we will. No, that's China's problem. They're on the border with North Korea. Let them deal with it. I promise you, North Korea will not be sending a bomb to America.
I mean, does it make a difference that, you know, all reports are saying that, you know, the crazy man over there, Kim Jong-un, potentially has an ICBM, and he's going to, and I know you're fine with them nuking Seattle, according to your tweets, yeah. But does that make a difference that, seriously, the threat of a crazy man potentially being able to hit the West Coast, and I've been to Seattle, and I agree with you on that note, but, you know, potentially they could aim that here, you know, at San Francisco, which is, you know, 90 miles from us, and that puts us in the zone, and but, you know, in the Syria situation, if we go in there and we bust that up, the threat of those chemical weapons that may or may not be there falling into the hands of someone who could bring them to our soil, or those sorts of things, in all sorts of scenarios, is that the real factor here?
Well, First of all, when you talk about San Francisco and Seattle, I'm just calculating in my head.
Well, keep in mind, we're like 97 miles. I wouldn't mind seeing it break off and fall into the Pacific either, but...
I'm only losing about 7 book sales, so not rising to the level of a vital national security interest. Though, yes, I'm very concerned about you, Kevin, because I want to come on this radio show again. But look, when you say, is this an issue? Well, okay, but what is the plan? What are we going to do? Are we going to start a shooting war? Yes, it's not a good thing, and if there are ways to prevent this, like, not being Bill Clinton and selling them and selling them nuclear technology. Remember that? That was another Madeleine Albright success, the Peace in Our Time deal. Look, we can do things like that. Maybe another Sputnik virus, which was used to shut down the Iranian nuclear program. But I do think, I don't know how long this is going to go on. I think some bad actors are going to get nukes, and will be in a mutually assured destruction posture with a lot of the world. Already a lot of other countries have nuclear bombs. But to start a shooting war over this, particularly when, again, China has a much, much, much bigger problem. You have North Koreans, for one thing, crossing into China all the time. They are right on the border. Other than the saber rattling, I really don't think it's in Kim Jong-un's interest to start bombing the United States. We could wipe the whole country off the face of the earth. So I don't think that's a very realistic possibility. I don't think has a missile ever landed on U.S. soil? I don't think it ever has, and that's always used as the excuse for us to start bombing other people. Well, they may start getting a little ticked off. I don't want to sound Michael Moore-ish here, but at some point, Kim Jong-un is going to say, hey, how come you guys get to drop bombs all over the world? There are things we can do. What exactly are we talking about here? And again, can we go back to being the President of America and dealing with things that actually are happening, not hypothetical possibilities that I consider? Maybe you consider it a 50-50 chance that Kim Jong-un nukes Seattle. It's a 100% chance that illegal aliens will continue to pour across the border and murder Americans and rape Americans. That's what Trump promised us he would deal with. And I really think that's what we want him to do.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up about them pouring over the borders, because a report came out today that says Republicans are pulling the funding for the wall. So my question is, we know that for a lot of those Republicans, this wall is wildly unpopular in their districts. And for some of them, they're going to turn this into a political issue so that they can place blame, because it's what got them elected. But then if they actually do it, people are demanding that they show up at town hall meetings, which is happening all across the country. But if they pull this funding, is this going to be the undoing for Donald Trump if he can't get this wall bill?
Well, he actually doesn't need one penny of congressional approval. He's the commander-in-chief. It's his job under the Constitution to defend the borders. That involves building walls on our borders. It does not involve bombing Syria. So no, this is 100% within the president's constitutional authority. That's what he should be doing. I am in favor of Congress having a vote and passing explicit funding for the wall, because I want them on the record. And you may think it's going to hurt Republicans or help Democrats who vote against the wall. I don't think so.
Well, I think in the end it'll all work out for national security, and I think in the end, I hope in the end that everybody will see that. But of course, I live here in California, and it's tough to be a conservative in California. We're up against a lot here.
It is. And that's the danger, that the entire country becomes California.
Jerry Brown had his way. He says California's the future.
It always has been, which is why, of course, you used to give us stuff like Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, and those fantastic tax laws. Mm-hmm. At the moment, the rest of the country would like to not become, at least some parts of California. It is the most beautiful state in the union. Love what the Democrats have done with it. The wall itself, I think, is far more popular than, and I don't think it hurts you with with a single voter who would ever consider voting Republican. It hurts. It may hurt you with some activists. And by the way, these Republicans should not be so terrified of the protesters at town halls. Liberals like to protest. This is what they do. They will travel around the country. They're all SEIU members. These are not your constituents. These are not Americans with jobs. Do not think of that as it's not like, people writing to Congress or calling. That means something. That's when people are really hepped up. But look, it helps everyone living in America right now, not only with the issue of crime being committed by illegals, but maybe not as important in the magnitude, but in the numbers affected. It's driving down low-wage workers' salaries, their wages. We need to take care of the people who are already here, and they'd like a raise. The idea that Hispanics are opposed to wall, for example, I think is preposterous. It's quite noticeable. As I predicted, Trump got more of the Hispanic vote than any other recent Republican. And you talk to them, and they want their wages to go up. They came legally.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up protesters as well, because I want to talk about your Berkeley appearance coming up. There's a headline today that says, Ann Coulter is being used as bait at Berkeley to test whether students are serious about free speech. Do you have any concerns, given what has happened in the past in Berkeley, the mecca of free speech, but given what has happened in the past, do you have any concerns?
Well, I hope not, because I give lots of college speeches. I've done it for nearly 2 decades now. We have a lot of fun, and not just with the conservative students. It's fun when liberals show up. I wrote about it at the beginning of one of my books. I think it's if Democrats had any brains, they'd be Republicans, because I'd been giving college speeches, for at least a decade at that point. And what's interesting about the college speeches is the higher the mean SAT score, the less likely there is to be any trouble. Kids at Harvard and Yale, and I would think Berkeley, that's a tough school to get into. They're smart kids. They have too much intellectual pride to show up and, throw food or something. They want to get you in question and answer, which is fun. A good time is had by all. I take a long question and answer period, but and I just heard Janet Napolitano say, I'm glad you asked that question of her, because that was my impression, that those were not Berkeley students burning down the town. It's never the smart students who want to do that. They want to come and beat you in an argument, or maybe hear what you have to say. But I hope that's what happens, because that's a lot of fun. If it just gets shut down, well, okay, fine. I get paid either way. You're not really hurting me. You're hurting yourselves. And I'll have even more to say when I speak at Modesto the next night.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking forward to. And that is my concern, is for your safety, because we definitely want to see here on the 28th, the following night. A couple more questions. Do you think that there's ever a limit to free speech, Ann Coulter? No, as long as I do think there's a limit to what speech is. I mean, my objection to some of the Supreme Court's, quote, First Amendment, free speech rulings is when they start defining protests or nude dancing, pornography as speech. No, speech is speech. It can be spoken, it can be written, but free speech means speech. I don't even think it means art, but at least you have an argument. I don't think most people are going to shut down most artwork, so just because something isn't protected by the Constitution doesn't mean that people are going to ban it. It just means it could be. But as long as it's speech, no limits to free speech. The idea in the great Anglo-Saxon tradition is the more speech, the better, and the true ideas will rise to the top. Excellent. I like that answer. Any political aspirations, Ann?
Oh, gosh, no.
just because of the pay?
No, well, I don't really want a job.
Oh, I like that too. I like more money and less work. Would you ever consider advising Donald Trump?
Well, I do through my Twitter feed.
I thought so. You advise me through your Twitter feed as well. You're probably unaware of that, but I follow you religiously. I have you on the notifications, and my when Fox News buzz, breaking news, my pockets buzz, and I know it's you. Would you ever consider for one day taking over Donald Trump's the real Donald Trump's Twitter account?
Oh yeah, I think I'd be great at it.
What would be the first thing that you would tweet?
So sorry about this Syrian misadventure. Don't worry, everyone involved will be fired.
Fantastic. And I really appreciate your time today. I'm looking forward to meeting you on the 28th. They've asked me to MC that event, and so
fantastic.
I am really excited to meet you and talk with you further. And I really appreciate your time today on the show.
Me too. Thanks for having me on. I look forward to meeting you, Kevin.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Ann Coulter, round of applause. Yay. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to that all week long.